We begin this hour in Paris, where Liverpool Football Club has called for an investigation into the security arrangements of Saturday's Champions League final after thousands of its fans were stopped from gaining access to the ground. Police in Paris fired tear gas and pepper spray on Saturday night at supporters as some attempted to climb over the security barriers. It delayed kick-off for more than half an hour. Liverpool went on to lose 1-0 to Real Madrid. Dan Johnson reports from Paris.
These are scenes any football fan will find uncomfortable and not what you'd expect to see at the biggest European final in 2022. Thousands of supporters frustrated and angry after the French police reached quickly for the tear gas as they struggled to get everyone to their seats on time. Chaotic scenes and fans saying they feared for their safety despite having queued for hours.
I've got really bad asthma and I've been tear gassed twice. I'm just really struggling.
Thousands and thousands of fans out there getting tear gassed with tickets, treating them like animals.
UEFA blamed thousands of Liverpool fans with fake tickets blocking the turnstiles, but supporters said organisation wasn't good enough. Tom was there with his disabled son Harry.
The treatment of supporters by UEFA and the police is an absolute disgrace today, indiscriminately pepper spraying people queuing up with tickets to get in the ground who've arrived 2.5 hours before kick-off at the stadium and then getting charged by riot police with shields. Again, having to shield my son out of the way. Absolute disgrace.
Away from the stadium, the afternoon was full of joyful positivity and confidence in the crowd at the Liverpool fan park. But concern over the delay gave way to the tension of the match and ultimately the disappointment of the final whistle.
That is it, no 7th Champions League title for Liverpool. It's been a tense, nervy game and they never really got going. There is a stunned silence here and there is heartbreak.
I can't tell the animals, congratulations to Real Madrid. They're really playing better football. And I'm sorry I can't tell animals.
It's okay, it's okay.
I'm just so happy I came out here, so it was worth every penny, honestly, every penny. Not the result we wanted at all, but here's what it is, here's what it is. We'll go again next year.
The atmosphere's been fantastic, isn't it? But it's just a shame to come away with a loss. If we'd have won this, it would have been bouncing here, wouldn't it? Yeah, it's just a shame.
And there was more tear gas in the streets as they left.
But within like 2 minutes of the final whistle, they tear gassed everybody. That's where all the fans went that way.
This is where Liverpool's season ends. But this club and its supporters always somehow show their hope never dies. Dan Johnson, BBC News, Paris.
On the pitch, Liverpool dominated the first half of the match, but despite several chances to score, they couldn't put the ball away. Real Madrid's Karim Benzema scored just before half-time, but after lengthy discussions, he was declared offside. The goal was disallowed. The Spaniards came out fighting in the second half, and it paid off when Vinicius Jr. scored, putting Real Madrid in the lead. Unfortunately, Liverpool were unable to claw back an equaliser. Well, let's talk now to our sports news correspondent, John Watson, who is in Paris. John, hello to you on a beautiful day, but it's really the morning after the night before, and it's left a really bad feeling, hasn't it?
Yes, events in the lead up to the game overshadowing the match itself, which is saying something when this is the biggest club football match really in world football, isn't it? I think it's fair to say the Champions League, but questions really will be asked, I think, of UEFA. Why some of those Liverpool fans were not permitted entry ahead of the game, why there was such a delay in allowing them access to the stadium, why French police saw it fit to use pepper spray and tear gas against them. Some young Liverpool fans caught up in all of that. If there were ticketless fans in there, which they were trying to sort of weed out, how were they allowed to get so close to the stadium before kick-off? I think what will probably frustrate Liverpool fans most of all is the claim from UEFA that the match was delayed because of fans arriving late to the stadium when clearly Liverpool fans had been queuing for hours outside of the ground to get in. I think that claim will be questioned by UEFA, and seemingly a lack of communication as well from those working on security, UEFA, the authorities, as to the reasons why those Liverpool fans were being kept outside the stadium and the match getting underway before many had actually managed to take the seats for such a big game in their season. It seems that there were a catalogue of errors which led to events last night, and UEFA will now respond following that request from Liverpool Football Club this morning, certainly last night, for that investigation to come now as to why fans were exposed to the treatment that they were.
UEFA said in its statement, John, that it's sympathetic to those affected by the event and therefore will have this review. I heard one Liverpool fan saying, in comparison, when he was in Kiev for the final a few years back, you'll remember that match, his ticket was checked 3 times before he got anywhere near the turnstile. He says his ticket this time wasn't checked until he got to the turnstile. I mean, there could be something quite elementary wrong here, couldn't there? If you get a build-up, you suddenly get apparently fake tickets, and then people start saying, well, hang on, something wrong with this ticket, and suddenly, instead of people going through smoothly, you've got a kind of bunged-up entrance.
Yes, I'm no expert in stewarding and policing, but I think one of the key things here is where you set up the initial kind of perimeter, where your initial checks on fans are made. And I think in this case, the first perimeter, which, you know, fans were kind of led in towards the stadium, it created a real bottleneck, and Liverpool supporters were being backed up in their thousands there as they tried to check tickets, check the fans, and then of course they're allowed closer to the stadium, and that's where the turnstiles are, and that's where you're permitted entry. And again, I think the issue here was perhaps there were some ticketless fans who had managed to make their way in towards the stadium. Perhaps had that perimeter been set up further out, they might have been able to kind of exclude them sooner. They didn't manage to do that, and I think there were some isolated cases of some fans kind of breaking through the security and into the stadium, and I think at that point there were some concerns amongst police and the officials and the security staff that we may well have seen a potential repeat of the incidents that led in the lead up to the final between England and Italy at last year's Euros.
Yes.
I think that was one of the concerns. They didn't want to see a repeat of that, and obviously in this instance I think that was one of the concerns, and why some of those fans weren't being allowed through and were being kept, you know, where they were in the lead up to the kickoff.
John Watson in Paris. For now, thank you very much.